Well, today I have another recipe suggested by a viewer, and this one comes at the perfect time if you're looking to warm up with some comfort food. Check out this week's Brittany's Bites. I'm back today with another guest recipe. This one comes from viewer Bruce, who suggested I make black bean lasagna. I love this suggestion, Bruce. Thanks so much. It's actually a recipe from Trisha Yearwood. I love her cooking and her baking, so I feel like I'm gonna love this too. I don't know how I've never come across it before. Now, this is actually a vegan recipe. When she makes it, she actually makes her own tofu ricotta to make in it. I didn't want to go through all of that. You can if you want. I will link to her recipe and my recipe, but I made a couple of adjustments to make this just a bit easier. Of course, you can add some meat if you'd like. It doesn't have to be a vegetarian or vegan. This is all about making it how you like it. All right, so let's get started. We've got a pan heating up on medium-high heat over here, and to that we're going to add, now her recipe calls for a 28-ounce can, which I couldn't find, but that's 2 of these together. But I love sauce, so I'm adding another. What these are fire roasted tomatoes. So if you look, it's because they're sort of blackened a little bit, fire roasted, right? So they have a deeper flavor. You put it all in with the sauces. So I'm gonna do all 3 cans here. Obviously you could hear that my pan is oh, that comes next. This is the one I'm looking for. All right, so we've got those tomatoes in, and then you want a 12-ounce can of tomato paste, which I have here. I'll put this entire thing in there. And by the way, I also have my oven behind me heating to 375. All right, that is pretty good. Got almost all of it. All right, so let's go ahead and add in. I have 2 15-ounce cans of black beans that I've rinsed and drained, so I have them sitting over there. Put those in. Great. And then let's do some spices. First of all, I'm gonna do some salt. This calls for 2 teaspoons salt. I'm eyeballing it. And some cracked pepper. And then a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. Perfect. And then the last spice we're gonna put in before our very last ingredient is oregano. And it calls for a tablespoon. A little bit more. Sprinkle that on. And a very important ingredient, just 1 small white onion that I have diced up here. Get all that out. Now I'm just gonna stir this all up, and what you're gonna wanna do is bring it to a boil, and then turn it down to simmer, and simmer this for 30 minutes, and that will make all of the flavors come together, and that's what we're gonna use to build our lasagna with some cheese as well. So we'll get this going and come back in about 30 minutes. We're back about a half an hour later, and all of the sauce is coming together, and oh my goodness, does it smell great. It's all cooked together. The flavors are all melding together. I took a little taste. It already tastes good. So we are ready for our next step. I'm gonna turn it off there. Now we're gonna get our ricotta filling together. As I mentioned, Trisha Yearwood's recipe, she makes tofu ricotta from scratch, which is not that hard to do. I'm just skipping a step. I'm making it even easier. So I just got some store-bought ricotta here. And the problem is I don't really know what her measurements are because she made hers with tofu, etc., nutritional yeast. So I'm just taking a stab at this one container that is 15 ounces will hopefully be good. And so I'm just making it like you would a normal lasagna filling that you use ricotta. So this, I'm gonna add to this 1 egg, and then some salt and pepper and some Italian seasoning. And then we'll start our layering. Oh, I forgot to mention the other thing that I'm doing that sort of is going to be a breakaway from Trisha's recipe and make this a little bit easier. I'm going with the oven-ready lasagna noodles. Grab this, about a spoon to help me. I'm just gonna put a little bit of layer here. And you don't need a very thick layer. You just need it to keep the noodles from being on the bottom of the pan. You don't want them touching the bottom of the pan. They'll just sort of burn and get all hard. Okay, and the recipe calls for 8 ounces, which is about 3/4 of this package. But I'm just gonna start layering and seeing how things go. I think we can probably get about 4 across. Let's give it a shot here. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do, about 4 across. And then we're gonna go with the ricotta. All right, so how I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna spread some ricotta here, and then I'm gonna do sauce, noodles, ricotta, sauce, etc. You also want to end on the top with sauce, and you wanna leave enough sauce to really cover all of the noodles, especially these oven-ready ones, because otherwise they'll get hard and crunchy in the oven, and you want them to cook. All right, we'll do the layers. Okay, now we have all of the lasagna ready to go. It's covered. Many layers. I ended up using the entire box, by the way, so I'm going to amend my recipe and say use the entire box of oven-ready lasagna noodles. So according to those package directions, I'm going to pop this in the oven again at 375 for 50 minutes, covered in foil so it can all bake, and then we'll see if it needs to get a little brown on top. We'll crank up the oven to 425 for another 10 minutes, and then we'll see how it turns out. Okay, we've gotten the lasagna out of the oven a few minutes ago. I baked it covered in foil and then uncovered it for a bit, and you can see it's still pretty steaming. You usually want to let your lasagna rest for a little bit, but I'm cheating a little bit for our purposes because I want to see how it turned out. I can tell you it smells amazing. So I'm going to try to get in here and pull a piece out. I feel like cutting a lasagna and getting out the first piece is about as hard as getting the first piece of pie out. It just usually falls all over the place. But I want to see all of these layers. Let's see. Oh, yeah. And I think the noodles cooked just fine. I cannot wait to give this a shot. I have never thought about trying it before, but hey, black bean lasagna, courtesy of Trisha Yearwood and suggested by Bruce. Thanks so much. I hope you give it a try. Cheers. Well, if you have a picture you'd like to share or an idea for a future recipe, just like Bruce suggested, you can text us to us at 614-460-3345 or find me on social media.